Tom Medlock, and this is assignment number 3. So for problem number 1, we went ahead and split the context buffer into two. So we have the world buffer and the view projection buffer. This is because the view and the projection aren't being updated all the time. So I did this by splitting it up down here, adding a new buffer, and setting it to each register that it's supposed to be set to. So when I go ahead and run it, it's going to go ahead and render the images with that shader. And if we move on to problem number 2, in problem number 2, we had to go ahead and make a pyramid. So what I did here is I just made the pyramid right here. And if we render the actual program, you can see that the pyramid is made fully, and it is a pyramid. And then if we go on to problem number 3, we have 3 different objects that are all being rendered with different colors. And this is done by having these 3 different objects and their resources updated, and then their colors are modified here. And so if we look at this right here, you can see that the world and the selected color are sent down. So yeah, that's problem number 3. For problem number 4, we had to use 2 different shaders, and I did this by setting the shader in the beginning of the draw, loading the constant buffers, and then down here I set the new shaders to the new Simple World 3D shader, and I set the constant buffer to the world buffer, and I just loaded the world buffer for each object. But before I did any of that, up here I went ahead and loaded color selected, and then I also loaded simple color. And then I put each of those in their own buffer handle. So up here we have the simple color and this color selected. So if I go ahead and run this, it will display 4 shapes with 2 different shaders in different locations. So yeah, that's problem number 4. For problem number 5, I was unable to finish it. However, I did get a decent amount in. The only thing I was not able to do was connect the vertices properly. So if I go ahead and run this, it's probably going to take a little bit to compile. You'll see that the pyramid is not quite, well, now it's completely messed up, but before it actually had the cap of it, and it was I was working on the bottom half down here, so you can see the code for it is right here. But this was working fine, and everything was working dandy with that, but we couldn't get it to connect. As for the further work, oh yeah, so I did end up changing out the different pointers for the models to be only the objects that they represent, so the pyramid and the box. And then down here you can see that it renders the box with these resources and this world matrix, and then over here it renders the pyramid with this world and these resources, and so on for each of them. And then other than that, oh yeah, for problem number 4, I wrote the shader class, just like a basic one, when you pass in the file path and the layout, and then you have your constructors here, and then you load the shader, and there's the buffer that you load with the different buffers and the structure, and then it holds on to the tags for the shader. So that's all I have for right now. Thank you.